Page 45, Good Night, Ladies. On page 44, they are introducing you to the key of F major. F major has one flat in the key signature. The flat sign is that weird looking thing. They show you what a flat sign looks like. That's it. That is the third accidental. There are three accidentals: a sharp sign, a natural sign, and a flat sign. Well, if you remember, the sharp sign took the pitch up a half a step. Well, the flat sign takes it down a half a step. Big deal. In the key of F major, there is a B flat in the scale. So instead of playing a B, you simply go down a half a step to a B flat. So if I want to play an F major scale, I can go F to F, play all the white notes except for the B flat. I would encourage you now to go do my scale video on F major, do the beginner part of it, and learn the fingering. It will help you out. Over on page 35, they show you at the top of the page the primary chords, or they call them principal chords, of F major. Remember, every key has three primary chords, or principal chords. In F major, it is the F chord, duh. Do these in both hands, save yourself some trouble. And then we have the B flat major chord, which is an F, a B flat, and a D. And we have the C seventh chord, which is an E, B flat, and a C. And those are the three primary chords. Just over time, memorize them if you can. F, just like we did when we went through the C major and the G major scales. One more concept is they're introducing the number chords. You see in the examples at the top of the page, above the pictures of the keyboards, they have the F major, B flat major, and that's what we're used to. Underneath them, they have a 1 chord, 4 chord, and 5/7 chord. You see, in a scale, every chord is numbered. Let's go back to C major. C to C, all the white notes. Yep, none? Okay. Well, if I have a chord built on each note. That is a triad, a 3-note chord. Every other note. Bring back to that. Each one is numbered. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and the 8 is actually 1. You don't have an 8 that's a 1. So we say it's a 1 chord. Well, it's built on step 1 of the scale. Well, let's go back to F major here. I got 1 chord, the first one. The F chord's a 1 chord, and because we're in F major, it's built on the first step of the scale, therefore it's a 1 chord. And most of the time, you're going to refer to them as 1 chords or whatever. So the 1 chord is one of the primary chords of any key. Then we have the 4 chord. The 4 chord is built on the 4th step of the scale. So I'm in F, and I go to the 4th step. I go 1, 2, 3, 4. I build a chord on that. Just take my word for it, that's what it is. And it's a 4 chord. But in the arrangement they're using, they're simply putting the F on the bottom. Because I can rearrange these notes. As long as I have the same note names, it's still a B flat chord. I take this and put it on the bottom. That's the arrangement they're using. It's a 4 chord. Then they have the 5/7 chord. Well, that is a 7 chord built on the 5th step of the scale. We've got a lot of numbers in this thing. Good grief. So I'm going to start down here, and I want to go to the 5th step of the scale because it's a 5 chord. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I'm going to build a chord on this one. It would be here, but because it's a 7th chord, I got to add 1 more, and B doesn't work because it's not in the F major, the key of F major. It's got to be a B flat. That is the full 5/7 chord in F major. It is a C7 chord. Well, they rearranged it slightly and they left out a note because we're not using 4 notes, we're only using 3 of them. So if you take a look, you see the G's not there. They're just doing these. Then they also rearranged it and they're putting the E on the bottom. So I'm going to take the C and put it on top. A C7 chord or a 5/7 chord. The 1, the 4, the 5/7. Those are the primary chords in every key. They call them principal chords, same difference. But it's kind of important that you know this, especially if you ever want to improvise. In Goodnight Ladies, you have these. 1 chord is in the 1st measure. In the 4th measure, you got that 5/7 chord. So I have a tendency to call them by the 5/7 rather than the chord names, the 5/7 chord. In the 1st measure of the 2nd line, it's a 4 chord. Now there's other arrangements of these chords, but don't worry about those right now. Just get this part first. And that is an introduction into the key of F major. Look at the key signature, you see 1 flat. And the treble clef, the top clef, it's in the middle line. Well, that's where a B would be. If you have a note on that middle line, look at the 1st measure of the 2nd line in the right hand. You have all these B's, they're B flats. Now, in the key signature, that applies to all B's, not just the ones on the middle line. It applies to everything. But when they give you a key signature, they got to put the flat someplace, so they put it on. Now, one more thing about key signatures. The order of the sharps or flats, whatever they are, is always the same order for each one. For the sharps, the 1st sharp was an F sharp. No matter how many sharps you have in the key signature, the 1st sharp is always going to be F sharp. In the flats, the 1st flat is always going to be a B flat. We can have up to 7 flats. Good luck. But you can have up to 7. Doesn't matter. The 1st flat, no matter what it is always going to be a B flat. Just keep that in mind. And that's about it for Goodnight Ladies. You've had pretty much everything else. There is a repeat sign at the end of this, so we are going to be playing this twice. I will explain one more thing since it's here. They don't say anything about this, but I'll talk about it. It gets back to I'd like you to understand everything you're seeing on the printed page. Look on the 2nd line between the 3rd and 4th measure. There is a double bar line right there. We've already covered double bar lines. They're between sections. So you're saying, so what's the sections in this piece? Well, look at we got words here. If you look at the 1st line, or the 1st section actually, it's the 1st line in the first 3 measures. Of the 2nd line, there's 2 sets of words. There's 2 of them. But when you get to the 2nd section, there's 1 set of words. Now the repeat sign, we're going to play it twice. So if you sing it, the first time you sing it, you're going to sing the top line of words, and then you're going to sing the bottom line of words on the repeat. But in the 2nd section, you're going to sing the same words both times. Now there are different words for it. A lot of times, the 1st section is called a verse. That's the section name. It's a verse. You can have multiple verses in a piece. You look at a church hymnal or something, you can have a whole lot of verses. And then the 2nd section is called the chorus, or the refrain, and it's got 1 set of words. So it's like the verse changes each time, but the refrain is always the same. And that's the sections in this, so you understand what's going on in this piece. Let's play it slowly together. It says brightly, but we ain't going to do brightly. I don't do brightly in anything. We're going to do slow. Now there is one little tricky spot in the right hand in the fingering I want to point out. So take a look at the beginning of this in the right hand. You're starting with the little finger, middle finger, then next measure, thumb. Now they want the 2nd finger on that, F. Then they're saying 3rd finger on the A, so you got to move your 3rd finger over. But look out. Well, if you do that, actually you can put the thumb on the F, and then you have the 2nd finger on the G. what we wanted was the second finger on the G. How we get there, you can get there a number of ways. In the first measure, I could just as easily start with the fourth finger and second finger, and then I come down with the thumb there, and then I could play the fourth finger again in the third measure, and then the thumb on the F. See, what I'm getting at is there's different ways of doing this, but you want to be in position for the G, the second finger on the G, in the fourth measure, that first line. So be careful of that. It's really the only tricky part. Everything else is pretty much straightforward. Just follow the fingerings, you're fine. I'm going to give us 4 counts because this is in common time or 4/4 time, and we're going to play it together. And we are going to repeat it. So go ahead and put your hands in position wherever you're going to put them, and let's get started, huh? 1, 2, ready, go. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 4. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 2, 3, 4. 3, 4. 2 and 3 and 4. 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1, 2, 3, repeat. 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3. 1 and 2 and 3. 1, 2, 3, 4. And 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1, 2, 3, rest.